the camera, you get the better.
Fair enough. And with that bit of expert knowledge, we are live for our Sunday night quiz. How you doing, Rob? Hello, everybody. I'm saying hello, everybody. There's no one there yet, so we're just talking to each other. I'm all right, mate. How are you?
They'll be here in a minute. It's just I've just come up on my screen. It's very disconcerting that my screen has just told me that I'm live on something else. So that's
well, that's good to know. I'm glad that you're live on something else.
I've just had an alert to tell me what I'm doing. I could do with that more often in my life. I think just someone to nudge me and go, "This is what you're up to at the moment, Rob," and I'd be more than helpful.
A little pretend Rob helping you out. Anyway,
little mini Rob.
We have started to get viewers. Hatchamania is on. Good evening, Matt. Good evening, Adam. Chris has asked us to let you know if you could please all say hi to him in the DMs as quick as possible so we can note you all down and make sure it's all working. Give you the old thumbs up for your answers and stuff. So don't wait for
you
us.
Could put that in the bar at the bottom, Paul.
I could like a little comment, couldn't I? Well, there's full and fast. There's loads of people here. Chris Turner's here for the first time. Hey, Chris Martin's here. Patrick's here. Bill Kitch is here. Right, guys, remember to say hello to Chris on DMs. Chris, for your benefit, Chris Turner, for your benefit, by the way. The answers are all given in via direct message to the Hooked on Wrestling Facebook page that you're on. So just send a quick hi to our admin and he will let you know with a thumbs up that your answers are being received. What time are we on? 2 minutes to.
2 minutes to. I'm just going to show something to the camera here. Can the camera see that? Is that too bright for the camera?
A bit too bright, but go on.
I've just had a little message from Tinder. Somebody likes you. There's something to look forward to when the podcast is finished. Isn't
go on. Let's reveal it on air. Let's reveal who likes you.
Social bubbles, baby.
You're all popping those bubbles, mate. You're all popping those bubbles now. It's going to be Shag Central. Right. Guys, thank you all for joining us tonight. I see a number of new faces again, which is very encouraging. We always like that, don't we?
You haven't mentioned what I was expecting you to mention. Sometimes I do things for effect, but it needs you to be a straight man. So what am I doing today that I don't normally do?
Wearing a green t-shirt. It's supposed to be clothes. It's a green t-shirt.
Sometimes wear a green t-shirt. You'll find that so far in all of these, I've worn a wrestling shirt for all of these so far. And I'm cycling my way through all my wrestling shirts, and I forgot to put one on today.
Oh,
so about 30
shocking.
seconds before the 30 seconds before the broadcast, I realised I didn't have a wrestling shirt on. I've actually got a shirt that says "Bounce Back Ability" on, which is an old thing that Ian Dowie once said in an interview.
Which is nice.
Actually,
so, for the cap?
So I've gone for the cap. So can you see from here what wrestling is on this cap? Can anyone see? Can you see that from where you are? I'll go a little bit closer to the screen in a minute, but can anyone identify what Rob's hat is, who it refers to, which wrestling piece of memorabilia, or not memorabilia, but which piece of wrestling merchandise is Rob's hat? And I'll reveal it I'll reveal it before we start the quiz.
No,
go a little bit closer to the screen, but I'll see if anyone that wants to guess first.
Well, we'll see in the comments.
Continue with your intro, my friend.
Well, it's 8 o'clock now, so we are going to get started with the rules. First of all, welcome everyone to our Sunday night Hooked on Wrestling quiz. Thanks for coming if you're a regular. Thanks for coming if you're a newbie with us. What we're going to do, as for the benefit of those newbies, we've got 20 questions that we'll run through. 10 set by Rob, 10 set by myself. The other one will answer, but of course we'll give you guys a chance to get your answers in first. And this is how you do it. When we read out a question, we want you to go to the direct messages on the Hooked on Wrestling page and submit your question via direct message. We've got Chris, our resident trained referee, who's standing by to tabulate the answers. Please don't put them in the public comments. He's trained. Of course,
is he trained, or is he just a ref?
You have to be trained to be a ref, Rob. It is a skilled job. Don't be so cheeky. So you've got to. So we don't want you to put the answers in the comments because then everyone can see them. It's a quiz. What we're going to do is send you, it's on via DM. Now, the most important thing is we want you to be as fast as possible sending those answers in. So to facilitate that, the first 3 people to submit their answer to each question will get a bonus point, okay? And we will go through who's got those bonus points every 5 questions. So it's the quiz is split into 4 lots of 5 questions, and every 5 questions we will update you on who got bonus points for the previous 5. Couple of little rules when submitting questions. Please put the question number on your answer first. So like 1 answer, 2 answer, 3 answer, and so on and so forth. And then secondly, you only get 1 shot, as Eminem once said. You only get to put in 1 answer. Don't submit further answers because we are going to accept your first go round. Have I forgotten anything, Chris? Not forgotten anything. He's shaking his head off camera. Just one more thing. If you haven't done it already, send a quick DM now to our Facebook page just to test everything's working. Chris will send you a thumbs up back if your message is received. That way you know that you've got the right place and it's coming through okay. If you don't get a thumbs up back, then let us know on the comments or whatever else, because we need to submit the answers that way. Are you ready, Rob? Have you got me some fiendish questions this week?
Well, I've got some decent stuff. I've got a little bit of a variety of stuff in there tonight. Just want to address a couple of messages in the live comments. Adam has suggested it's a beer money hat. Well, I would give him half. I'd give him half a point for that. If I go closer, can you? Or if I just take it off and show you, can you see that?
It's Bobby Roode.
It's a Bobby Roode hat, is what it is. But it's I'd give you beer money. Really, that's second. Or what they should do, there should be a nice tag team called Cider Money, shouldn't they? That's what it should be called.
Cider Money.
Cider Money. I pay to watch Cider Money, Bumbos. And it's Rob Moore in the chat today. Rob Moore, who works for Thatcher's, was in last week. So I'm there. I'm there with my stuff again. I'm going to keep on drinking this until I get some free stuff.
He's still lamenting your massive plug to get free beer, my friend. So what time are we on? We've got 3 minutes past. So guys, we're going to start at 5 past the hour. We're just going to give people a chance to come in late. So we're just going to give it a comment. So everyone had a good day today. Who's staying up for Backlash? Who is staying up for Backlash tonight?
I will come to that.
Anyone interested?
nice, Malcolm. I'll come to that in a second. But just before you all answer about Backlash, or while you're all answering about Backlash, Matt Barber, I noticed, says that the last ride was superb again today. Episode 4 of the last ride, the Undertaker series, which you got an exclusive sneak peek on hookedonwrestling.co.uk.
Yes,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen episode 4 yet. I'm looking forward to. I'll probably do this as soon as this quiz is finished. It's going to be my interim between the quiz and Backlash. I'm going to sneak in and watch the last ride. But it's worth pointing out, this is a good time while we're all waiting for the quiz to start. Next weekend, we're flipping the websites to the dark side, aren't we, Paul?
We are indeed. We are going to have an Undertaker weekend to celebrate the last episode of The Last Ride, which I suspect might well make us all cry. But all weekend, all our social media, all our website is all going dark side for the weekend. It's going to be Undertaker content, all our different podcasts, commentaries, features, everything is all going to be all Undertaker all weekend. So please do check that out. Including the quiz, including the podcast, including the written quiz on the website as well. If you haven't checked that out, we're going to have some Undertaker prizes to give away. So it is going to be.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. My mate, I've been on to my mate at WWE. He's going to hook me up with some Taker shit. Some quite good stuff actually. So you got to stick around. So guys, it is now 5 past. Rob, I suggest we get cracking.
Yeah, let's do that.
Who's first, Chris? Let's bring Chris on. Chris, are you ready for a quick?
Oh yeah, we haven't seen Chris today. Let's
everyone say hello to Chris, the power behind the throne. Evening, Hatchamania. How you doing?
Thanks. How we doing?
All right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Looking forward to this.
Good stuff. Well, who's going first?
I've just randomly put it down as you going first, Paul.
Me asking first. Radio. Let me pull my questions out.
Have you had plenty of people contact you so far, Chris? Are you happy with everyone that's not registered? That's not the right word, but we had a good number last week. Hopefully you can catch up again today. Yeah,
very good number so far. Another load of new faces, which is always good to see. So, yeah, all looking good in the inbox at the moment.
I'm looking for a good performance from the members of Team Heavens Yes.
Boom.
This is Team Rob in the Hooked On Civil War. Hoping that you boys will step up today and keep the form going. This is like pre-season now. Just need to be ticking over before the games get going. So,
right.
Nice. This is a bit of a warm-up for you.
Chris, we'll see you soon, my friend.
See you in a bit.
Rob and everybody listening, this is what I've got for you today. I've got 10 questions, and they are all, yeah, Benjamin's right. It is the greatest wrestling quiz ever. So I've gone, if you want to check it out, it only just got published 10 minutes ago, but I put an article on hookedonwrestling.co.uk with the 10 greatest wrestling matches of all time in WWE, in my opinion. Don't at me, because your 10 will be different, but it's my opinion the greatest 10 wrestling matches ever. So I've done 10 questions relating to those 10 matches, okay? You don't need to know what the matches are, and if you go and look at it now, it would be appreciated because we'd like your traffic, but it's not going to help you answer the questions. The questions might be really closely related to the matches, or it might be really, roughly related to. So are you ready, Rob? Shall I kick on?
No, I'm looking forward to knowing it would have been a fun game to see if I could have guessed what your top 10 was, but I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to. I'll read the article in a wee bit, but
let's see how we go. Right, so let's kick off.
I'm going to tell you as you go along whether or not you've got it right. That these matches are going to. Are you doing these in order? Are you doing 10 up to 1?
There is no order. I've said on the article. I'm not. I don't mind getting my best 10, but I'm not ranking them. They are in random order, so it is not best to worst, it's not worst to best, it's just my 10 favorites. So question number one, Ken Shamrock was the special guest referee for Steve Austin versus Bret Hart in a submission match at WrestleMania 13. I'm sure you're in agreement with that one, Rob.
True.
But in what year was Shamrock's final WWE match? In what year was Shamrock's final WWE match? So, guys, me and Rob will just chat amongst ourselves for a couple of minutes while you not buzz your entries in. Remember, get them in as quick as you can, because the fastest finger gets in. What's what about?
So I'm going to do questions about the greatest matches of all time, and then you've just done an arbitrary question about Ken Shamrock.
I told you they were only tangibly related to. It's using them as a jumping off point.
Well, yeah.
What do you want me to do? Ask them out.
No. Fine.
Tell you how many minutes the match lasts. How many stars did it get? No,
about 28. 28 minutes.
28 minutes or 28 stars?
Just a reminder. There's a couple of people already putting the answers in the chat room. Please don't do that, folks. Please don't put the answers in the chat. There's always a few coming in now. So. Yeah, as Will's just put, we'll delete the ones that are there. I'm not going to be swayed by what was in there. If you haven't looked at the DMs, you haven't looked at the answers in the room, don't. So you guys that did that, don't worry, we're not mad at you. It's not. You just obviously came in after we explained. So if you could please send your answers to the Hooked on Wrestling DM Hooked on Wrestling via Facebook, basically, because we have Chris, who's our off-screen referee, having a look at all the answers as they come in. At the end of the quiz, we'll ask you to tally your own score. Tell us what your score is, and then we can double check the best ones. A bit like the bingo, if you've ever been to that. So everyone's self-policing the room. Yusuf and whoever else it was someone else. We've deleted the post now, but Yusuf has apologised. That's fine, guys. It's not a problem at all.
How long do my fingers look on that, by the way? Am I like ET or something? Fucking hell.
I can't see that. That's behind the screen.
Phone home.
See, my face is on the right-hand side of the screen. I can see my own face, but yours is on the left, and you are covered up by the live comments on my screen, so I don't have to look at you.
Well, give us your answer then. Give us your answer instead of looking at my beautiful visage.
I did see what came up in the room, but I don't believe them to be right. So I am going to work with the basis of. I can recall the Royal Rumble 1999, and Shamrock was definitely in that Royal Rumble. And I don't recall him being in the 2001 and going forward in 2000. I can't think of Ken. I don't associate Ken Shamrock with the year 2000, but I do associate him with 1999. So my answer is 99. I have a nasty feeling he came back for a Raw match, some Raw reunion or something like that. And you're going to have caught me out, and it's actually 2017, and I've forgotten that he came back on some retro Raw. But you don't normally do tricksy questions like that, so I'm going to say 1999.
That's your answer. And just to remind you, Rob, this is not GCSE maths. You don't have to show you're working out.
No, I'm trying to entertain the people. If you've ever watched Eggheads, they don't just say 1999. They try and explain why.
Fair enough. Right, question 2. Ric Flair. Got to be fair to Flair. Flair to fair. Ric Flair famously drew number 3 in the 1992 Royal Rumble. But who drew number 30?
Oh, crikey. I thought you were going to say 1 and 2.
Number 30. I actually, as a bonus question for you and everybody else in the comments, let them give an answer first. I actually first put who drew number 4. But I thought that might have been a slight bit obscure, so I changed to number 30. So who drew number 4 in that Royal Rumble? If anyone wants to try and beat Rob to it, we all know, or most of us know, are familiar with that match, that it was DiBiase and the British Bulldog that drew number 1 and 2. But who drew number 4? That's not the actual question. That's just me asking a bonus question. The actual question is who drew number 30?
Oh, well, you've got me trying to think of 2 different answers now.
Well,
I suppose 30 should be the most important one.
30 should be the one on your mind, but 4 is a bonus. Somebody.
I think 4 might have been a nasty boy, but I'm not.
Nicole, it was 1992, by the way. Nicole, it was 1992. You are right. It was a nasty boy. But Chris Marden, who has put Brian Nobbs, is actually incorrect. It was in fact Jerry Saggs.
Oh,
Leanne got it right.
Chris and Will both are both team Rob. And they both got it. Both are the same as me. That's a nightmare.
Paul, I'm on the Bud Light.
It doesn't matter that we got that one wrong. It doesn't matter we got that one wrong, lads. The question is all about number 30.
Right. So give us your number 30. Plenty of people have answered now. So what's your number 30?
It's 1992. So who's in there at the end? Oh, I feel like I should. I'm going to go with one that's definitely late on. I'm not sure it's number 30 though. Oh, and do you know? I think Gorilla says it. I think Gorilla Monsoon on commentary says, and the last one's number 30, and we all know that that's so and so. I think he says who it is.
I'm gonna have to rush you.
Oh, I'm gonna have to say Sid Justice, and I don't think it's right. I think he's late. I think he's like 28 or 29.
Okay, right.
I think Monsoon says, all we've got left to come is number 30, and we know now that it's going to be
Sid Justice. Okay,
it's not Sid Justice.
Number 3. Now I don't think there'll be any disputing on this one. Now, I actually chose the third one relates to Shawn Michaels against the Undertaker. I've put his WrestleMania 25 match down as in my list of 10. I could have put any one of 3 really, but I chose just to have one, so there's no appearance from Hell in a Cell. So question 3, Shawn Michaels faced The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 in a classic match.
You did.
Don't know why I felt the need to put that. Most people know that. But which of the 2 had more title reigns, including any belt in WWE? So over The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, who had most title reigns? I'm not just talking world title. I'm talking any title held during their tenure in WWE. Which of the 2 had the most title reigns?
Okay. You should have done the Ric Flair question number 3, by the way. That would have been a nice little fitting.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, I was rushing my balls off to get these questions written today.
You were rushing your balls off.
I was rushing my balls off. Hence, Matt, why I only had time to grab a Bud Light.
The people listening on medium wave just thought you just said a Russian called balls. I
actually bought a really tasty bottle of Aldi Pinot Noir to drink tonight. And if you've never had that before, guys, there's a $5.99 Pinot Noir in Aldi, which is absolutely sensational.
What's happened to this podcast? What's happened to this show?
What
are you talking about? You did this last week. You mentioned Aldi. Last week I had to rebuke you for talking about Aldi. Or 2 weeks ago, with a bad Nick Aldi's joke. Jay, strike 2. Jay Montes in the.
We will.
That's strike 2.
We will block you after another one, my friend. Sorry to be so. Well, we don't want them all ruined, but we don't want to. It's not a block out of malice, but a block for everyone's sake. We've said it twice now, so shouldn't have to say it again. Mate, it's great. Don't worry, Jay. Not a problem, mate. Not a problem. No, like I say, we're not mad. We're just correcting mistakes. So, Aldi. Oh, look, we've got the Aldi there. What's going on now? This is my favourite. The Hooked on Universe is never better than when we talk shit puns.
Oh, he said it. He said Hooked on Universe.
Doesn't matter. It's just an easy way of saying it. I've gone corporate. I've gone native. Matt
Barber says that Aldi Reinbacher is a great Pilsner. I think Aldi Reinbacher plays right back for Schalke and Null Fear, I think, doesn't it? But
Null Fear. I like that. I've never known him call that.
Well, that's their name.
I know, but I've only ever looked at it. Schalke 04, so that's ace. Yep, Yusuf, just keep DMing us. Chris, if you're listening, would you mind just sending Yusuf a quick thumbs up back on the DMs just to know you're getting it?
Yeah.
I'm sure you are, mate, if it's coming through everybody else's. So, Rob, what's your answer? Undertaker or Shawn Michaels? Who has held more title belts?
Well, again, I don't want to overthink these questions because, quite frankly, life's too short. But I think it's got to be Shawn, hasn't it? I mean, Shawn's had like 5 tag titles. I suppose Undertaker's won the tag titles a few times, but I think of Shawn having won the title lots of times. I think of his IC title reigns. He was even European champ. Maybe it's just Undertaker's had more world title reigns. I don't know. Maybe that it's closer that way. My instinct was Shawn. I'm going to have to say Shawn all the way. But I imagine you've asked the question because there's not a lot in it. I can't believe it's Shawn 17, Undertaker 9. So I imagine it's close, but I'll go Shawn. I mean, it's one
Shawn
of them,
Michaels is your answer. Well, obviously, it is either Shawn Michaels or The Undertaker, yes.
By the very nature of the question. I'm not going to answer. Is it TL Hopper?
It should be. Right, let me get my phone.
I didn't say Alex the Pug Porto. I normally go to Alex the Pug Porto.
What am I on? Number four. Right, guys, this question is one of those questions whereby if you're being pedants, there's probably lots and lots of different answers, but there's one thing in particular I'm looking at and getting at that you probably can go for. So anyway, question 4. AJ, this is about AJ Styles and John Cena, by the way, at the 2017 Royal Rumble. Okay, phenomenal match.
Great match.
What have the first pay-per-view matches, first WWE pay-per-view matches of AJ Styles and John Cena got in common? So AJ Styles and John Cena's first WWE pay-per-view one-on-one match.
Oh,
the first pay-per-view one-on-one match. What have they got in common?
See, I had an answer then.
I've seen a couple of answers come in that are correct.
Okay,
Malcolm, by the way, Malcolm has put Rumbles. Malcolm Mars put Rumbles.
That's what I was going to say.
We'll let you correct that because I should have been clearer. So if you've put anything like Rumbles, go again. We won't hold it against you.
I was going to say Royal Rumbles,
but no, it's their first singles match, and I'm looking for something in particular. So if you put they're both held within the confines of 3 ropes, or they're both held in front of crowds, or something like that, then unfortunately I'm not going to give you it.
But they both included a hip toss.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have a think here. I'll quit while I'm thinking. I'll just address Benjamin Muir, who we've seen plenty of times before. He's a good follower, who's regular in the chat here. He's called his. There's obviously a few people around his place. Watching the quiz, which is nice, and he's called themselves Team Quiz Benoit. Now, I don't do this chat. I've not done this little spiel here on the quiz before, but when I do the hosting of the live events in London, as I've been doing right from the start, folks, we've always done a quiz in all of our live shows. We've always done a quiz, and I tend to say the same sort of thing, which is that we have seen every single variant of the word quiz being used for the team Chris. So Edge and Quiz Team we've seen, Quiz Jericho we've seen, and I would say there's a Quiz Benoit every single time. It's not tasteful and it's not original. Actually, a true story from our Royal Rumble party, the team that came last was called Quiz Benoit, and the team that came joint first was called Quiz Benoit. And we had a nightmare trying to establish who exactly had won and who exactly had come last, because 2 teams had been unoriginal enough. Now, I like Ben. He seems like a really good bloke, so I'm not going to have a pop at him. But we have heard Quiz Benoit all the time. And if you go to any normal pub quiz, don't call yourself Norfolk and Chance, because we've heard it. Don't call yourself the Cunning Stunts. Don't call yourself Quiz Teamer Aguilera. We've heard them all before. Anyway, that's not the point. This is me. I'm trying to waffle because I don't know the answer to Paul's question.
Right. Yes. So give us an answer so we can get on to question 5.
No, Adam Ferran's gone, no Quiz Candidos. This has now turned into a scene from the life of Brian. There'll be no Waterwicks, no Rudolph
Pish Stratus in Glasgow. Brilliant. Anyway, we'll save this quiz banter for between another question when we need to fill some time. So give us an answer, Rob.
Do tell us your best team names, because Ask a Question is an excellent one. I don't know. I mean, I haven't got anything.
Okay.
I feel like AJ's first match was against Roman Reigns, so I'll say they both wrestled someone in the Anoa'i family. That's all I can go for. In someone in the Anoa'i dynasty, they wrestled. Maybe Cena's first pay-per-view match was against Rikishi or something, but I don't know. I was going to say they were both in Royal Rumbles. So.
Okay, fine. Right. 5th question is about the Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania 21.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so my question here is, prior to Shawn Michaels facing Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, Marty Jannetty made a short-lived appearance for 2 matches as part of the storyline. One was to face Kurt Angle. The other was a Rockers reunion as he and Shawn Michaels teamed up to face which tag team?
Oh, I remember it as well. I do remember it.
So when Marty Jannetty came back to WWE in, what was it, 2005?
What was WrestleMania 21, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so 2005 then. I can work out I'm the same age as WrestleMania, basically. So I turned 36 just after WrestleMania 36 this year. So I can work out how old I am and what WrestleMania it is. So I would have been just before I was 21. So yes, it's 2005. Crikey, I do remember that as well. In fact, I passed by on it as some of you will have seen the ongoing Barbershop trilogy pieces on the hooksonwrestling.co.uk website. And as part of that, I've been flicking through bits of Shawn Michaels' career, and I certainly looked at because of his issues with Marty Jannetty, the original Barbershop window. I looked at this.
Marty Jannetty.
I looked at this, but I can't. It's not coming to me.
We've got a mixed bag of answers, which I like.
So who was around in 2005 that it could have been? Is really the. Okay, I've got an answer. I don't think it's right, but I think they were around at the time, so it's someone it could plausibly have been.
Well, let's have it.
I'm going to go. Oh, is that a bit early? Actually, that might be a bit early. No, I think that's too early now. I was going to say Caden Murdoch, but I'm going to change, and I'm going to change to. I'm going to say La Resistance.
La Resistance, right? That is the 5 questions. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run through the answers to those first 5. See how many Rob got right. See how many you guys got right. More importantly, and then
don't think I got many.
The bonus points.
Don't think I got many there.
Question 1. Ken Shamrock was the special guest referee for Steve Austin versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, but in what year was Shamrock's final WWE match? Rob, did you say 1999?
I said 1999.
Then you were correct. It was late 1999. Can't remember the month exactly. I did look earlier, but
I am on the board.
So question 2. Ric Flair famously...
Sorry, just quickly on that show, he had quite an impact. People will remember Shamrock. And obviously that WWE is not the only place he worked. He was in early TNA, and now he's back there, or in Impact, I should say. And he's been around. Obviously, there's UFC. But he basically was only just over 2 years, wasn't he, in WWE? Yep. He made quite a big impact, considering.
He did indeed, because he's very good. Right. Ric Flair famously drew number 3 in the 1992 Royal Rumble, but who drew number 30? Foreshadowed, like you say, by Gorilla Monsoon.
I think I've got it now.
Justice, but what do you think the actual answer is?
I think it might be the Berserker.
Incorrect.
Oh, is it not?
It was the Warlord.
Oh, the Warlord.
It was the Warlord.
The Warlord. I was close.
Right, question number 3. Shawn Michaels faced Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, but which of the two had more title reigns, including any belt, in WWE? You said Shawn Michaels. The answer was The Undertaker.
Brilliant. It's a 50-50, and I still got it wrong.
There you go. So The Undertaker had 15 individual reigns with titles, and Shawn Michaels had 14. Okay.
Just as a couple of people just asking, they've either had a stall or they didn't hear it exactly. But the first answer, the Shamrock question, was 1999. The Flair question was the Warlord, and now the third one there is Undertaker more than Shawn. So that's
by the way,
debate, everybody.
By the way, guys, for the newbies, what we want you to do is we want you to keep a record of your own scores. We will check on the people who say they've got the winning scores when we ask you for your scores at the end. Chris can't keep a record of them all, obviously, but we want you to submit your scores first. So stay honest, please. Right, question 4 in this round. What of the first pay-per-view matches? I'll start again because I'm garbling this. What have the first WWE one-on-one pay-per-view matches for both AJ Styles and John Cena got in common? Bear in mind, guys, if there is any tangible thing that you've put, and it's something like, it's not the answer I've got. If you can prove it's right, as long as it's a proper reason, rather than, like I say, they were in front of crowds, they were in arenas, they took place with Jim Ross as the commentator or whatever, then I'll be tempted to give you the point if you can prove it. But the answer I was looking for, and the notable part, is that both of them, in their first one-on-one pay-per-view match in WWE, faced Chris Jericho.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it might be the opponent, but I thought my head said that AJ's first match was against Roman. So
it was against his first 2 pay-per-view matches. Actually, were 1-on-1 against Jericho at Fastlane and WrestleMania, and then he took on Roman Reigns, I believe, at whatever the equivalent of Backlash was that year. I'm not sure it was Backlash or not, but and then Vengeance 2002, John Cena defeated Chris Jericho. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it's been Extreme Rules has been the post-Mania sometimes, isn't it? So
could have been. Could easily been. Might have been easy. Right, so question 5, the last one of this block. Prior to Shawn Michaels facing Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, Marty Jannetty made a short-lived appearance. A great match against Kurt Angle and a really great match when the Rockers took on La Resistance. So well done, Rob.
That was in there somewhere, that one. I don't know where that came from.
You got it.
I didn't know that, but I think it was a sort of a logical guess.
You got it, mate. Right, so that's 2 out of 5 for you, mate. Not your finest hour in your block, but more importantly, let's see how everybody else got. Guys, if you want to pop in the comments how many out of 5 you got there. Meanwhile, we're going to go to Chris. Chris, are you ready with our bonuses, buddy? Let's bring him in. Cool. Hello, Christopher. How do we do?
Yeah, firstly, Paul, if you're going to do Bud Light, can you do it properly, please?
Right. Have you seen how much my jowls are growing in lockdown? I need to minimize my connection to any sort of beer.
Right.
All right. Bonus points for first round. Chris Marden 4, Adam Ferran 2, Dan Greenwood 2, Paul Robson 2, Chris Turner 1, Nick Wood 1, David Reed 1, RJ Lynch 1, and Patrick Heafield 1.
And if you could just repeat those, if you don't mind.
Yep, of course. Chris Marden 4, Adam Ferran 2, Dan Greenwood 2, Paul Robson 2, Chris Turner 1, Nick Wood 1, David Reed 1, RJ Lynch 1, and Patrick Heafield 1.
Splendid.
Okay, just to be clear for everybody, because there are a few new names. Just to be clear for everybody, what Chris has just read out are your bonus points. So, for example, I'll take him because it's a name that I can remember him saying, and it's one I can see coming through on the comments. RJ Lynch has said that he scored 3 out of 5, right? So he got 3 questions right out of 5. Chris says he got 1 bonus point. So essentially, RJ is on 4. So his running total is on 4. So if you so what you're putting up in the scores now, great to see you all joining in. Good variation of scores. A lot of people scoring 3, which is a decent little average. Listen, if you only got 1 or 2, folks, not a big deal. We deliberately make this quiz quite hard. You know, we don't want people getting 19, 20. We want you to score 13, 14, and win it. We deliberately make it quite hard to test your knowledge. So don't worry about the low, what you might perceive to be low scores. I think that was a hard 5 questions. I only got 2, so I have to say that.
Martin, just to give you a confirmation on your question, Martin says that according to Wikipedia, both Taker and HBK got 14 titles each. That would be correct if you didn't take into account the WCW tag team title that Taker won in WWE with Kane in 2001.
Nice.
That very much counts.
Nice.
So that is 15-14. Right, Chris, we'll see you in a few questions time, my friend. Rob, do your worst.
Am I allowed to? Is it me now? Am I doing my 5? I thought you were going to finish your 10. I don't mind doing 5 if you want a little break.
Mate, no, you go for it. Martin, we never said WWE title. I specifically said titles he won in WWE.
Yeah,
difference.
We'll always listen to the wording, folks.
Yep. So no, mate, you go for it. You will unless you've got a specific reason, mate. We'll go blocks of 5, traditional again.
No, I've done 2 5s this week, so it's easy enough for me to do.
Go for it.
I do like that. Am I allowed to award extra bonus points? I'd like to give lots to Brody Christie for his still game reference there, which some people will get and love, and others will not. But his near points plick. That's one of the best. Still, who by the way, Still Games. Greg Hemphill wrote an article in the original Hooked on Wrestling magazine when it was available years ago. That's a true fact for you. Greg's a huge wrestling fan, big friend. Anyway, let's go on to my 5. Okay, I'll give you a choice, Paul.
Go on then.
Would you like the 5 that I've done vaguely around the theme of something that might be happening tonight on Backlash, or would you like one of my patented "it's got a theme but I'm not telling you the theme" rounds?
Give me Backlash first.
Okay, let me first of all. I've got to get my props for this one. So
what have we brought into? Come on. Is that the greatest match ever?
It's a great. It's great test. Great test. It's what it is. Actually, it's not test. It's I haven't got a test. Who's that? Do you know who that is?
That looks. I've absolutely. Is that a WCW figure?
It is a WCW one. It's no moving.
It's Michael Hayes, isn't it?
It's Michael Hayes, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I've got. Also, I've got his mate here, right? So that's Freebird Michael Hayes. That's Jimmy Garvin. There, can you see him?
Yeah.
Right. That's the two of them together. I had these. I bought a load of figures off one of my mates when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And he was grown out of playing with his figures, and I didn't until I was about 15. But anyway, I bought a load off of him for about £5. They were some of them.
Comments.
But I didn't. Yeah, very good. I didn't watch WCW, right, with these lads. So I didn't know who these were. And so I named them myself, right? And I thought they looked a bit mystical with their snake pants and stuff. So I called them Mr. Mystery and Mystic Mo. That's what I called these two. And I genuinely didn't find out that it was a Freebirds until about 4 years ago.
Nice.
There we are. That's a little true fact about my my figures. More next week. Let's do some questions. So you may or may not be aware that tonight's Backlash pay-per-view involves a match which is being billed as the greatest wrestling match ever. This round may or may not revolve around that theme. Okay, think about that.
Okay.
Here's 5 questions. Number 6. Remember, Number six. Against whom did Taka Michinoku make his WWF debut? Against whom did Taka Michinoku make his WWF debut?
I see where you're going with this one, player.
Remember the theme, okay? Remember the theme. It's not Tommy Dreamer, right? It's not one of them. It's the great theme, is what it is.
Don't do that. That's the worst thing in the world. Do you know what goes through me more than any idea? Right, this is the most bizarre thing ever. Right, this is weird. Do you know what image makes me want to wince, cry, and be sick all at once? Right,
Tommy Dreamer.
This is something that will probably never happen in life. But the idea of taking your fingernail and shaving it with a Mach 3. You know, like running a Mach 3 against the grain against your fingernail. Oh, I just maybe want to be sick.
Okay, what'd you bring that up for?
I don't know, just because it reminds you of grating. But anyway, I think we're giving enough time for the answers, don't you?
I can't remember who said it, but I remember once seeing a good bit of observational comedy, which said, "Who uses that bit? Who uses that bit, and what is it for?"
Cheese on toast.
What? Just cut it with a knife, man. You don't need to use that.
Nice. Yeah, you get nice, thin, even slices. It's great. Anyway, speaking of great, the answer to your question, I believe, is the great Sasuke.
Okay, that's what you have gone for. Okay, that's got great in it, isn't it? Number 7. Number 7. Who was the last person eliminated in the greatest Royal Rumble match? Who was the last person eliminated in the greatest Royal Rumble match? That is not my opinion of what the greatest Royal Rumble match is. So we're not back on Ric Flair again. No, it's a capital G, okay? Greatest Royal Rumble. So the one-off pay-per-view they had, it was in Saudi, wasn't it? Was in Saudi?
Yeah, it was. The comments got very quiet since you started. I think people are really concentrating on your questions.
People have to think harder for my questions.
You should think harder about my questions. You might get more than 2 out of 5 right.
So you may have noticed that sometimes great is in the question, sometimes it's in the answer, folks. So that don't go searching necessarily for great in that answer, because it's the references to the greatest Royal Rumble. Paul, you ready to answer that one?
Yeah, I'm ready. My answer, Chris Turner. The question was, who was the last person eliminated in the greatest Royal Rumble, as in the one in Saudi Arabia? So I'll just give you 10 seconds to answer that. Just give you 10 seconds.
Good to have Chris Turner with us, the former Hereford manager. Don't know if it's him.
Yeah. Probably the same guy. So I'm just going to give my answer. I'm not massively confident about this one, but my answer is Big Cass.
Okay. Fine. Number 5, 6, 7, 8. Which city? Oh, it's got 8 in it as well. Which city? This is a tough one. Which city hosted 8 of the last 11 Great American Bash pay-per-views of the WCW era? So forget when WWE appropriated the pay-per-view title. WCW used to have a Great American Bash tour, and then they just morphed into just having a one-off pay-per-view every year. But when it from then, so it was from around about 1989-90 onwards, they had 11 versions of the Great American Bash pay-per-view, and 8 of them were in the same city. Which city was it? It became kind of synonymous with this city. I'm giving clues because I don't think it's a straightforward answer. So it's where Flair wrestled Terry Funk. Flair and Funk was there. Sting won his first title there. So it was famously associated with this pay-per-view, the city.
I think I've got an answer to this. I think I have a vague knowledge of what this is, but again, it's not.
Okay.
I'm not.
I don't think this is an easy question at all, but I think it's for me anyway. Of my 10, 2 or 3 of mine are a bit more modern than usual. So I do ask a question such as the Greatest Rumble, which is quite recent. I feel I'm okay to go back to old WCW stuff.
It's such a weird answer for this one because this city that I'm thinking of, in my head, it's like northeast US, but I don't think it actually is.
Well, I'll tell you. My US geography is good. So if you tell me when you give me your answer, I will tell you where that city is. I won't necessarily. Okay, I won't necessarily say if it's right or not, but I'll tell you where the city is.
My answer is Baltimore.
Okay, Baltimore is in the northeast. It's just south of. It's just south of Washington, Baltimore. It's in there. Right. It's in Maryland.
Okay. So that does fit quite.
It's two-thirds of the way up the eastern seaboard, basically.
That tallies.
That's up there.
All right, that's my answer anyway.
Home of hairspray, I think, is Baltimore. Anyway, question number 9: what was the stipulation for the Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns match at WWE Great Balls of Fire? So this is the great in this question is about the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. Braun versus Roman. Strowman versus Roman even.
Great
Roman
question.
in the Gloman. What was the stipulation for Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns at WWE Great Balls of Fire?
I wish Roman would have a handicap match with Bromans. That didn't work at all, did it?
Bromans. There's a tag team that I haven't thought about in a long time. Was that Robbie E and Jesse Goddard, was it?
Yeah, they came into my office once.
Just as they do.
Jesse Goddard and Robbie E came into my office in London, and basically I could not snap the females in the office out of a trance for the next 24 hours.
He's meant to be a good lad, isn't he, Robbie E? I've not met him. But
lovely bloke, yeah. Every time
he's meant to be a nice lad.
He was always one of the guys that was very eager to be nice to everyone on the TNA tours. Great guy. By the way, if you haven't listened to our podcast this week, guys, it's all about TNA. And we're going to toot our own horn for a little while. Normally, when me and Rob do a podcast, it's a bit like essentially 2 fans with a bit of experience and a bit of knowledge pontificating on what we think about wrestling. With this one, we actually know our shit. Like both Rob and I worked with very closely in my capacity and fairly closely in Rob's capacity with TNA for a number of years. So you actually get some genuine, real insights that you don't get from the dirt sheets who talk absolute bollocks. So you might actually learn something from our podcast rather than just having to hear our opinions for 2 hours. So I can't recommend it. It's the one podcast we've ever done that I will absolutely go to bat for. It's quite an important podcast. Set the record straight. If more people heard it.
Do you know what? Right, you're totally right. Malcolm has just mentioned that podcast was a bit heated in the middle, right? And he's right. It was a little bit, but there was a reason for that. It was that two reasons. One is that, without being all mushy about this, Paul and I are very, very good mates, and you get to a point where you can fall out with your best mates and then immediately make up again because you know that you're just being honest with one another, and it's not an agenda and it's not being nasty. And in fact, we didn't fall out really, but we had a few different opinions and we stated them. The second thing is I didn't tell Paul what I was going to do, which is essentially interview him. We normally do the podcast as a you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk conversation. And I stopped doing that. And I started asking him difficult questions and putting him on the spot. He knows he can say, Rob, I don't want to answer that. And I'll cut it, which we didn't have to do. But it was a very genuine, I decided, right, no, sod him. I'm going to start grilling him and putting him on the spot, which is kind of if you listen to the Bruce Pritchard podcast, which is where it all started on that kind of podcast route, that's what Conrad has done from the start. He has never given Bruce wriggle room. He gives Bruce shit if he doesn't think he's answering questions. And so I decided I was going to do that with you. And I asked Paul difficult questions about people like Dixie Carter and like Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff and whatever. And I thought you were very good in terms of your answers. You answered fairly. I think we differ quite a lot in terms of our opinions on certain people and how much effect they had. So you'll hear Paul and I differ on our opinions of Vince Russo, of Eric Bischoff, of some TNA talent. But I loved doing it.
It was fantastic fun.
It was really interesting. So it is about 2.5 hours long. We're trying to make these podcasts around about 75 to 90 minutes. This one's 2.5 hours. So we went long. But I think it's justifiably long. It's different to normal. And it was great fun to make. Next week's podcast, we'll talk about it in a wee bit. We won't spunk it all now. But next week's podcast, we'll tell you about in a little bit. But we could be making a bit of a change to the podcast next week for the better. We'll tell you about that a little bit later on.
Rob,
you haven't given me an answer for number 9.
Oh, what was question number 9? Oh, the match type. I seem to remember it was an ambulance match.
Okay, that's your answer for that one. And number 10, who is credited with being the first wrestler to use what we'll call the Asian mist. Sometimes the green mist, the red mist. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
The wrestler will spray the mist in someone's face. So what is who was the first wrestler to use the Asian mist? That is question 10. Callum, not only is the quiz still going on, mate, we're only just about halfway through. That's what we do here. This is about 10 minutes of entertainment, strong over an hour and a half. Why get to the point when we don't need to?
It's not like we've got anything else to do, is it?
Well, we will be with you slightly longer tonight. What we normally aim to do, folks, is have the quiz between 8 and 9:30. But we'll be here with you until 10 tonight, because whatever time we finish the quiz, we'll spend the rest of the time up till 10 o'clock having a little chat about Backlash, because it went quite well last week in terms of doing the NXT takeover. So we'll do that again. So we're with you until 10, quiz or Backlash chat, whatever it may be.
Sweet. So my answer to that question, by the way, is the Great Kabuki.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that is 10 questions in. Let's get some answers in for those 5, Rob?
Okay, was that the greatest 5 questions you've ever heard?
That was a great 5 questions.
It was. I thought it was absolutely great. Right, it was actually harder than you think. Harder than you think trying to find great ones, and I didn't do a question about the Great Khali. So, right, okay. Question number 6: against whom did Tacha Michinoku make his WWF debut? It was. What did you say?
The Great Sasuke.
It's correct. And I think his second match with the following night on Raw was also against the Great Sasuke, who they had their eyes set on signing, and then they decided Tucker was more impressive and signed him instead. So that was the answer. Great Sasuke. For a bonus point. No, not really. But for what pay-per-view was it at? Tucker versus Sasuke.
It was a Canadian Stampede in your house.
It certainly was. That's part of the topic from last week. Who was the last person eliminated in the Greatest Royal Rumble? You said. I also sound like I'm going to go into Les Dennis, my dearest.
I did have more confidence. I had more confidence in this answer than I let on. I didn't want Chris to know I was completely certain in case he hadn't put his in yet, but it was Big Cass.
Okay. It was Big Cass, yes. The city that hosted 8 of the last 11 Great American Bash pay-per-views in the WCW era.
Baltimore.
Was Baltimore, home to the Baltimore Ravens and Stacy Keibler.
One of those is better than the other.
There we go.
Love Stacy, hate Ravens.
Number 9, what was the stipulation for Braun versus Roman at the Great Balls of Fire?
This is the one I was least confident about, I think, ambulance match.
Well, confident you should be is the correct answer, is an ambulance match. Can Paul get the big 5? Can he go for 5 out of 5? Who is credited with being the first wrestler to use the Asian mist? Paul said the Great Kabuki. But there was more than one Asian wrestler called the Great Something, wasn't there?
Was there?
Do you remember?
The Great Muta! Oh, for fuck's sake!
Do you remember the Great Muta?
Oh,
well, it wasn't him. It was the Great Kabuki. You were right.
I totally would have said Muta if I'd have thought of him.
Basically, that question was there for you to go for the Great Muta and the correct answer to actually be the Great Kabuki, and you did it the other way around. You got it correct.
My
Yeah,
idiocy.
so a little bit Kabuki-ish.
My idiocy saved the day. Well
Yes,
done,
well
Paul,
done.
and your dumbass
So-
reasoning.
Certainly, more than one person in the chat said, "Cool, could do with Paul's questions back. Paul's questions were easier than this." But
Well-
interestingly, you got all of mine, and I only got 2 of yours. So there we go.
There you go. Right, so we'll get these back on track with my questions, shall we? Oh no, let's go to Chris for the bonus points.
No, we need
first.
some bonuses.
Let's give some bonuses out. Hello.
Hello, right. Give me time to read lots of names out. So, Will Kitchen, 2. Leanne Culverhouse, 2. Patrick Heafield, 2. RJ Lynch, 2. Chris Pereira, 2. Leanne Horrobin, 1. Chris Marden, 1. David Reed, 1. Martin Richards, 1. And Chris Turner, 1.
Wow, a lot of names there, mate. If you could give us those one last time.
I'll certainly try. Will Kitchen, 2. Leanne Culverhouse, 2. Patrick Heafield, 2. RJ Lynch, 2. Chris Pereira, 2. Leanne Horrobin, 1. Chris Marden, 1. David Reed, 1. Martin Richards, 1. And Chris Turner, 1.
Excellent.
Before Chris Hatch disappears, he's also not only going to give us the bonus question, the bonus answers there, but he's also going to give us a fishing update. How many people said Muta, Chris, roughly?
A good proportion, probably 2/3.
Just get everything in that keep net, and I'll just leave it there, and I'll throw them back later. There we go. Lovely
Chris,
stuff.
can you do me a favour, just for shits and giggles? Next time you come on and do the bonus points, can you do them in the style of the classified football results? Because I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
Who would you want? Does he do? Is he doing classic Tim Gudgeon, or is he doing James Alexander-Gore?
I think he does. I think he does his own interpretation on them. Hatch style. See you in 5 questions, buddy. Right. Let's get this show back on the road.
I've basically got to get these all. I've got to get these all right now.
You really do. So these are all about classic matches. Remember, in my opinion, the top 10 matches of all time. I've given you my 5. I've got my other 5 coming up. So question 11. If Mrs. Hatch is reading, she'll be impressed with the fact that I've gone to 11 rather than 6. Question 11. Hulk Hogan faced The Rock at WrestleMania 18. True. It was only Hogan's second match since his return to the company. Name all the participants in his first match back. So Hulk Hogan faced The Rock at WrestleMania 18. It was only Hogan's second match since his return to the company. Name all the participants in his first match.
Crikey me. Good stuff.
Which obviously became between No Way Out in February and WrestleMania in, I think, late March.
I'm enjoying. Chris Turner's done a bit of a stream of consciousness on the chat and said, when there was a cheese grater and the answer was Great Sasuke, I said Steve Blackman. Remember when he had the cheese hat and he was part of Head Cheese? I remember very fun. Do you know who?
Brilliant.
Do you know? Here's a question. Paul will know the answer to this. Here's a question for you, Chris, and for everyone else. Do you know who not the world's biggest, but of all the people I know, who the biggest Steve Blackman fan is? Do you know, Paul? Do you know someone that we all know who's a massive?
I believe I do. I believe I know exactly who you're talking about.
Friend of Hooked on Wrestling, and he'd Hooked on Wrestling multi-time party host, SoCal Val, is a huge Steve Blackman fan. So if you ever have anything to do with Steve Blackman, send it over to Val, and I'm sure I'm sure every episode of DAW Grown Ass Women, their new venture, I'm sure is absolutely full of Steve Blackman references.
I'm just texting my good lady wife to bring me some more Bud Lights.
Okay, I better give you an answer, and I don't know. All I can think of is that they probably had some sort of multi-man match before Mania.
I think the clue is that I didn't say who did he face.
Yeah, no,
I'll get to your question in a minute, Ben. I'll get to a question between the next question and the answer you were earlier to. So, yeah,
it must be a tag match. So I'll say it was. It's probably when they did the big attack, isn't it? So I'll say it was Hogan and Scott Hall against The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know that, but you know.
Okie doke. Right, next question is question
Good question
12.
from Patrick. Just answer Patrick there.
What's that? I haven't seen that.
He says, "Is it all or nothing
yes,
for the points?"
It's all or nothing. If you don't get all of the participants, you get nil point. Okay, question 12. The British Bulldog faced Bret Hart at SummerSlam 92. Don't think there's going to be much argument about that one as a classic match either. But after that match, who was the Bulldog's next opponent in a one-on-one match in a WWE pay-per-view? So after SummerSlam 92, who was the British Bulldog's next opponent in a one-on-one match on a WWE pay-per-view?
That's a stonking question.
I think I've done all right this week.
That's an absolute
good.
Beauty. Do you want to answer Ben Muir while I'm having the think?
I will let you think about it. Right, Ben, and everybody else who's keen to get to our Summer Slam parties. The current answer, honestly, is I do not know. Okay, so obviously the state of the world as it is, both with our pubs and social distancing, and with rest WWE pay-per-views being what they are, it is impossible to say. Normally, our SummerSlam tickets will be going on sale right now, this weekend. Okay, obviously that's not going to happen. I tell you what, my instinct, I want to make sure that our first parties back go with a bang, not a whimper. So, and SummerSlam's always quite low anyway, but I have a feeling that people are going to want to party and they're going to want to watch some wrestling. So here are the two conditions essentially. Obviously, we need to be back in the pubs. Pubs need to be open and not in a sort of half-baked screens between each table sort of way. You know, I'm not saying it has to be a free-for-all like it was before, but it needs to be conducive to a party. If the pubs are only open in such a way that you can literally go and sit on the table for a drink and not talk to anybody else, it totally defeats the ethos of what our party is. So that's a no.
Correct.
So that's no. The second condition is that WWE have pay-per-views with a crowd, because those pay-per-views that they're doing now are not conducive to any sort of atmosphere. Now, there is a school of thought that says the way we do our parties negates that need for a crowd, but in my opinion, they're just not the same. And I would rather come back when everything. I don't want it to be tinged with the shite that we've had to deal with for the last 6 months. I want it to be a celebration. So I'm thinking no, but I am open to if things change. You know, if they announce something with the pubs in the next week or two, and WWE suddenly come out and say we are going to be in Baltimore or whatever with a crowd, then I'm open to changing that in the bigger cities. So you know, again, the chances are that if we did do it, you'd only be looking at London, Glasgow, maybe Manchester. So yeah, that's where we are. Hope that clears things up. I know it doesn't completely clear things up, but it just gives you an honest appraisal of where we're at. So Rob, I think you've had enough time. What are you thinking?
It's such a good question. Right, one of two things is going to happen here. Either it's going to be it's going to have been like the very next pay-per-view, and I've completely forgotten about it, or Bulldog was gone quite soon after that. He wasn't around by 93. He went to WCW.
Thank you.
He came back in 1994.
Cheers.
But that was, you know, he was obviously in the crowd at the Bret Owen match. He got involved towards the end. If he was in Survivor Series, he must have been in a team. He's in the Rumble 95 because he nearly wins it. By Mania, he's with Luger. I'm just going through all these matches and I'm like, all I can see is tagging with Owen, you know, tagging with Luger, tagging with...
Here's a singles match, by the way, William.
Yoko. So I'm going through and I cannot find one in my brain. So either he loses a King of the Ring qualifier and I can't get it in here, or I'm going to have to say it's his match with Bret in your house 4 or 5. So my answer is Bret Hart. I can't think of another British Bulldog singles match until the next one I can think of is against Sean over here, but that's into the Hart Foundation by then. So I'm going to say Bret Hart in your house. That's my answer. It's a great question. It's the best question we've had for weeks.
Oh, I'm very, very, very pleased you say so. So
unless the answer is he had a singles match the following pay-per-view, in which case I'm just an idiot.
Question 13. Randy Savage took on the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. But what was the outcome?
It's in your best 10 matches of all time.
Oh, mate, of course it is. behave. You don't always have to be technical. What a match that was. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. The question is, who was the winner? Oh, sorry, I'll repeat that. Who was the winner of their SummerSlam 92 match, or was it a draw? What was the outcome of their SummerSlam 1992 match? I'm not looking for the means of victory or the means of the draw or whatever it might be. I am just looking for what was the outcome. Quite a mealy-mouthed question, I know, but I wanted to ask it anyway.
You've just followed the best question you've ever done. With an appalling piece of judgment and then a shit question. What a massive letdown you are.
Bothered. Let's see how many questions we get right, shall we? And then we'll talk about letdowns.
Oh, that's not bad. You lessen the impact of getting questions right when you'd have a flip of a coin question in the first 5, and now a pointless question about a match in the second 5 involving.
There's nothing wrong.
Rubbish.
There's nothing wrong with a flip of the coin question. For starters, if it's a good flip of the coin question. And secondly, there's nothing wrong with a bit of a brain teaser because not many people actually remember how this match ended.
Well,
they remember
the
circumstances of the match.
That's
good for you. That's good for you.
No, I've said that.
Well, let's hear it then. We've given them a time. What was the outcome of that match?
Now. I am going to be full of hubris now, and I'm going to get it wrong. I would have said, if you'd have just said what happened at the end of that match and we'd not gone into more detail, I'd have said it was a double disqualification. I think
double
Flair and Perfect get involved. I would have said it was a double DQ.
Fine. Okay.
Or it might have just been a draw. Like they could have called it a draw, but I would say double DQ is a draw.
So by the nature of my questioning, then that would be a draw. So you're saying draw. Fine. Okay. So question 14. CM Punk defeated John Cena for the WWE title at Money in the Bank 2011. Unquestionably on the list. But what was the prize? What was the prize at stake when they next faced each other in a one-on-one match? CM Punk defeated John Cena for the WWE title at Money in the Bank 2011. But what was the prize at stake when they next faced each other in a one-on-one match?
What was the prize at stake? It's an interesting way of putting it. Because I'm not sure. I think I know when it was. I think I can vaguely remember the context. I'm just trying to work out in my mind exactly what it is. It feels like it's gone a bit quiet. Everyone's gone a bit quiet now. Everyone's trying to have a bit of a think about that. By the way, if this isn't wetting everyone's whistle to read Paul's article, then I don't know what is, because there's some absolutely straight down the middle. Of course, that's on the list. There's a couple of, good one, that's on the list. And there's a couple of behave yourselves.
Well, what you behave yourselves out of interest? One, obviously, Warrior Savage.
Because Warrior Savage is just not. It's just, how is that on the list of greatest matches of all time? Listen,
because do you know why? Do you know why? Because it made me feel. It was one of the matches, one of the top 10 matches that made me feel, and that to me is the only criteria for a great match. It's the only criteria.
I don't think you feel until the end. I think all of the feel is after the match.
No, totally disagree. The way those guys went at it with sheer no, I don't think there's been any match, or certainly back in that era, that conveyed such sheer desperation, career versus career, and you felt every last ounce of sweat in that match. You felt that every time anyone did a single move, they wanted to preserve that career. From the Warrior coming down to the ring, walking into the ring, running.
Good
right?
point.
That set everything mattered, and everything made you think that there was nothing more important in their entire lives than what happened in that match. It was phenomenal.
Do you know what? Okay, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I'll give you two things that I really, really dislike about it, and they're kind of linked. Because it's a good point. Your thing about Warrior walking is a good point. Didn't he have some trunks on that said something like "It's so much more important than this," and a picture of the belt or something?
Yeah, it was the belt on one knee pad and Savage on the other knee pad.
Don't mind all that. That's fine. But just he kicked out of 5 top rope elbows, as if it never happened, and just stood up, and it's like, oh, for goodness sake. And then he beats Savage with 1 foot on him, and it's like. Well, I just think Warrior was way too poor of a wrestler to ever be included in any of those sort of conversations.
Well, that poor wrestler had two of the best 10 main events in WrestleMania history in back-to-back years. Obviously, he was in with Savage in one year, which is an absolute god of a wrestler, but he was in with Hulk Hogan the year before and still managed it. So
that's a fair match. The two of them, the Warrior Hogan match is it's a good main event for what you're expecting of the two of them. But you're talking about every match in the company's history, and you can't find find 9 better than that.
I could have found loads better. But what's your answer to this one? What was the prize?
I'm assuming that the next time they met one-on-one was that brilliant match they had on Raw, which almost felt like, because I'm sure that was in the run-up to, I think it was after Punk had wrestled Rock and before Cena was going to wrestle Rock, and they had a match on Raw, which was just to say, we're here every week, we're going to put on an absolute classic. In fact, in some ways, I think it was a better match than the Money in the Bank match. The Money in the Bank match had the most amazing crowd, and again, there's your feels, because the crowd played into that. But in terms of an actual move-for-move match, the Raw one was just as good. I'm assuming it was to do with whoever had the main event, the shot of the Rock, or I'm going to say number one contendership, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really feel right. Perhaps it was for a Money in the Bank. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to say that it's to do with the number one contendership for a match against the Rock, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Fine. And then my question 15 then is, Shawn Michaels made his return to wrestling against Triple H at SummerSlam 2002 in the unsanctioned match.
Mm-hmm.
But who did he face in his next one-on-one match after that match? And I'll give you a clue. This match was the first and only successful defense of the World Heavyweight title that he won at Survivor Series 2002. So I'll repeat the question. Shawn Michaels made his return to wrestling against Triple H at SummerSlam 2002. But who did he face in his next one-on-one WWE match? The clue is that match was his first and only successful defense of the World Heavyweight title that he won at Survivor Series 2002. So he basically had SummerSlam match, didn't wrestle again until Survivor Series, won the belt in the Elimination Chamber, and then what happened from there?
I must have had one.
He had one defense before he lost the belt.
Before he lost it, yeah. And then he's in the Rumble. That's the Rumble where he gets thrown out by Jericho, isn't it? And then they go on to have the match at...
That'll be the one, yeah.
That's at Mania. So basically, sometime between Elimination Chamber and that particular Rumble, I'm just trying to work out who got the belt from him. But you said one successful defense before that, isn't it? Ooh, crikey, I don't know that. Who else would have been in that Elimination Chamber? That would tell you who's around the top of that company at the time. That's a good question, mate. You've made yourself.
I'm glad you approved. It's gone up and down.
You've made amends. Well, it's not made it any easier. I'm just trying to go through who else would have been around for that. This can't have been on the pay-per-view, I don't think, either. Can it? I think Elimination Chamber I feel like that was at the end of the year, and then it was done by the Rumble. So it must.
I've given you one hint. I'm not giving you another.
I can only think it was on Raw. Nothing's really coming to me, so I'm going to have to go with a bit of a match that I can remember definitely happening.
Go for it in your own time now. We don't have to wait for anybody else. I think we've had plenty of answers in.
No, I don't think it's right. I think it's something else. I'm going to say Shelton Benjamin.
Shelton,
which is possibly a silly answer. I just wonder if that's the match. That's the famous leapfrog springboard super kick, which I think was on some sort of anniversary Raw or 500th Raw or something. I don't think that's right, but I feel like this match must have been a big Raw match, and so there must have been a reason for having it.
Well, let's find out what the answers are, shall we? So, right, question 11. The question was Hulk Hogan faced The Rock at WrestleMania 18. It was Hogan's second match back. Who were the participants in his first match? You were quite right that he teamed with Stone Cold Steve Austin to take on Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall, but you didn't remember that Kevin Nash was also on that team. So it was actually a handicap match. Hall, Nash, and Hogan against Austin and Rock.
It was 2-on-3, was it? Bugger. I thought Nash was
indeed.
injured. I had it in my head that Nash was injured.
Well, it's a fair guess. You know, he's injured 75% of the time, so it was a fair assumption, but unfortunately wrong on this occasion. Question 12: the British Bulldog faced Bret Hart at SummerSlam '92, but after that, who was his next one-on-one pay-per-view opponent? You were quite right in that it was multiple years later. It wasn't a trick question. It wasn't the next month. He actually lost the belt on Saturday night's main event to Shawn Michaels.
Shawn, yeah.
His next one-on-one match was at In Your House 4, as you alluded to, against Diesel.
Oh, we talked about that on the podcast.
Diesel, we did indeed. So, interestingly, he was on In Your House 4, he was Diesel's last successful title defense before he lost the belt to Bret Hart. And then In Your House 5, he was Bret Hart's first successful title defense.
I was one pay-per-view off, wasn't I? I was one In Your House off. We talked about... The podcast before last was about Mr. In Your House, and I successfully lobbied to get the Bulldog onto the list, and I forgot the match I was even talking about. What a fool.
Okay, so
Excellent question.
The question you didn't like: Randy Savage took on the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. What was the outcome of their SummerSlam '92 match? You didn't like this question, but it doesn't mean that you get any extra points. It was actually the Ultimate Warrior winning by countout.
Oh, was it?
It was the Ultimate Warrior won by countout.
Okay,
I was there, and I would
have been sure that was a draw.
So, CM Punk. So, what question are we on? Sorry, we're on question 14, aren't we? CM Punk defeated John Cena for the WWE title at Money in the Bank 2011. But what was the prize at stake when they next faced each other in a one-on-one match? I will get this right. You know, in the Bulldog match, you said I might have sort of bamboozled you a bit by, pretending it was a match like the next month.
No, I suspect this was the next month. I couldn't think of another CM Punk.
It was indeed the next month. They faced off in the main event of SummerSlam 2011 for the undisputed title. Chris, did you get that, mate? Did you get that? Okay. Did you get that? Yeah, brilliant. I won't lie. I cocked that one up. I had it as the number one contenders match on Raw as well, but then looked at it just at the last moment and realised I was wrong.
Oh, you prick!
So I had to text Chris and say, "Sorry, mate. All those bonus points, redo them." But anyway, question 15. Shawn Michaels made his return to wrestling at SummerSlam 2002 against Triple H. What was his next one-on-one match in WWE? It was not Shelton Benjamin, who hadn't debuted at that point.
I knew it wasn't Shelton Benjamin.
It was, in fact, Rob Van Dam.
Get on. Was it really?
On Raw the very next night after Survivor Series. So, Martin, just quickly, mate, you do get the point for saying Warrior winning. You didn't have to give the means of victory. So just to say Warrior is fine. Dan, undisputed title, WWE Championship, whatever, mate. Any variation thereof. Just that it was for the world belt of some description. So, Rob, what did you get in that section then, mate? You got...
I think I got -1.
You got none.
I got -1. I think you took points away from me for being a dick.
Oh, my God. You got none. You got 0.
Yeah, I don't think I got anything. But you got one of your own questions wrong.
But I didn't, because I got it right.
Yeah,
in the end. It's just, kick out at the last second, mate. Kick out at the last second.
Run through the what those answers were again.
So you want all the answers?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just want to remember what they all were and see how close I was.
Okay, so question 11 was Hall, Nash, Hogan, Austin and Rock.
Yeah, I got that right because Nash doesn't count, so I got that right.
You were really close on that one. You were really close on that one. Next one was Diesel. So you were one pay-per-view out on that one.
I mentioned that last week on the podcast, so I've already spoken about it. So I said
that one.
That's also Kevin Nash again, so still wrong.
Next one was Warrior. Okay. Nash has screwed you twice now, hasn't he? Warrior winning was third.
Well, that shouldn't even. That's a void question because it shouldn't be in the thing. So I'm still
giving yourself that as well, are you?
Yeah,
okay.
That doesn't count.
The world title was the prize for the next one in the CM Punk match.
You didn't ask that question.
So you're giving yourself that as well.
I got what you were going to say. So okay, I'm 3 out of 3.
And then Rob Van Dam.
Okay, I didn't get that one. I got 3 out of 4.
Or you got 0 out of 5.
I got 3 out of 4.
Either or.
I got 3 out of 4.
Right, we're going to go to Hatch. We are going to go to Hatch for bonus points. He's put his glasses on now, so he must be getting super serious. Oh my Lord, what is going on here?
The following are the classified results for round 3 of the Hooked on Wrestling quiz. Patrick Heafield, 2. Martin Richards, 2. Dan Greenwood, 2. Leanne Culverhouse, 1. Matt Rickson, 1. Chris Pereira, 1. Chris Marden, 1. RJ Lynch, 1. Results are void for question 14 because Benson cocked up.
Amazing, absolute mate, well done.
Do you know what? There was a point in around about 2002 or so. There must have been a point where Ricky Gervais looked at Stephen Merchant and went, "This Pilkington fella, we could be onto something." There was a breakthrough. Do you not think there was a breakthrough moment there where it's like we've got to do one thing or another here, Paul? We've got to either accept that Chris is a witty, intelligent, funny man and use it to our benefit, or stop him appearing because he's funnier than us. So
I think I'm leaning towards the form because we're so arrogant and egotistical. I don't think we can have anyone upstagers like that. But
can we do a poll? Can we do a poll? Next week's poll is Chris too funny for this show?
Anyway, so
it's not supposed to be about the ref, is it? The refs not supposed to make
just to confirm, Chris, you're gonna those bonus points for the question I cocked up on. You're gonna add them to the next batch, are you?
I'll add them on to the next round. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you, mate. Thanks for covering my arse.
More than one person calling the ref a Bubba Ray Dudley there.
We'll see you in a sec,
buddy. That's not a nice thing to say.
What did you say?
Is it over to me? Is it my?
It is over to you. You've got 5 questions. So bear in mind, I can get -1 on this round and still beat you. No, well, I can get -2 and still beat you.
I got 2 out of 5 in the first round, and then 3 out of 4. So I've got 5 out of 9 of yours so far.
Yeah.
So which is a high percentage. Observers might differ. Yeah. Okay. In my world, anyway. Okay. Right.
You've got bounce back ability, Rob. That's for sure.
I won't tell that story. It's boring. Okay, so here we go. My next 5 questions, as regulars will know, I am prone to a little theme, but I'm not telling you what the theme is. So these questions may or may not be connected in some way, but I'm not going to tell you necessarily one way or another. I'm sure you'll pick it up as you go along. There are certain questions. You know, when you're doing a pub quiz, there are certain questions which are real pub quiz fodder, aren't they? Things like colours of streets on Monopoly, Henry VIII's wives, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Collective nouns for birds. Those sorts of things come up in quizzes time and time again, don't they? This is a bit of a wrestling pub quiz question. I would expect people to get this. This is a bit of a means to an end question, but it's to bed us into the round. Question 16. Who was the first ever WWF Intercontinental Champion? Who was the first ever WWF Intercontinental Champion? This is not an intentionally trick question.
I was about to say.
It's not an intentionally trick question. So if the company happened to be called WWE at the time, if it happened to be called WWF at the time, or Titan Sports, or Vince McMahon's Wrestling-A-Rama, whatever, it is the first Intercontinental Champion. That is not a trick question.
Okay.
I don't think you need much time to say. Well, obviously, we'll give people a little bit of breathing
space
to get
their
their
answers
answers
in.
in.
I'm answering a couple of questions on our top 10 list.
But Adam says, "You say that, Rob, but I can't trust you. On this occasion, I'm going to allow you to trust, as Jake Roberts would say, trust me. But on this occasion, you can. Often you can't, but on this occasion, you can. If I say you can, then you can. Do you want to give me an answer?
Yeah, I do. It's Pat Patterson.
Okay. Wrestling Mediacons, Pat Patterson.
Wrestling. Oh God, please don't.
Is that not mentioned? That? Is that like mentioned in the Brit Awards to Frank?
You'll just bring me out in post-traumatic stress disorder if you start talking about that, mate.
I enjoyed it. It's fun. Who won this? When I no, I shouldn't tell that story. That's two stories I was going to tell instantly between one after another that I realised I can't tell. Number 17. Who won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 23? Who won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 23?
Okay.
Again, we need to fill some space in between. So, Paul, WrestleMediaCon.
Yeah, go on. Go on.
Should we do a podcast about that one day?
No,
Should we do a whole long, drawn-out podcast about that?
You said we're such good friends that we cannot fall out, even if we have disagreements. There are exceptions to that rule.
Is that right?
It was a harrowing experience, mate.
You did a good job. You got through it.
Okay. No, Adam, you can't have a podcast on MediaCon ever. This will be the most you ever hear it.
No, I tell you what.
About.
No, right. We'll do it now. Right. We'll literally do it now in one question. Paul, did Wrestling MediaCon take loads and loads of time and make you no money?
Correct.
Podcast over. Right. Next question.
Nearly killed me and ended up making literally about £7, and I'm not even joking.
There we go. And that was the bus fare. Right. So answer to question 17. Who won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 23? Paul Benson.
Well, I'm just thinking of cash-in. So obviously, Edge cashed it in after the first one in 2005 against John Cena. Then Rob Van Dam cashed in at One Night Stand 2006 in that great match. So I'm thinking that the next year is Edge cashing in again on Undertaker. So the answer is, of course, Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy.
Thank you very much. Okay, now question 18. How was Louis Spicolli known during his WWF stint in 1995-96? How was the wrestler that in other places was known as Louis Spicolli? How was he known in WWF around 95-96? What was the name of his character? That's the sound of a man thinking, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that dead air was. I just want to hear Paul's cogs going round. He knows the answer. I know he knows the answer.
I instantly know the answer. I've just forgotten to write them down because you're a fiendish bugger. So I am now. Yeah. Okay. I've got your theme.
I don't think it's that outlandish this week.
No. Write them down and you can get it easily enough.
I think you need to get this one to get it, sort of, because you could get yourself confused between the first two. But
agreed.
If that one didn't, if you didn't get it from that one, then the next one will certainly help. But okay,
do you want an answer?
Yeah, please, if you would.
Radford.
Okay. Is he in the Hall of Fame? No. Number 19. That's cruel. That's cruel, isn't he? He's not. He's no longer with us. I shouldn't do little jabs like that. Number 19. Who was in the corner of the British Bulldogs, along with Captain Luis Albano, at WrestleMania 2?
That's really funny, actually, because I came very, very close to asking you. That SummerSlam 92 question was nearly who led out the British Bulldog at SummerSlam 92, which would have also fit your theme.
Well, it wouldn't. I take your point, but it wouldn't really, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
It's got quite as clear cut as you've just said there. I mean, you don't have to get the theme, so it doesn't matter. You can just answer the question. As I often say in all of my quizzes, I just say, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just answer the question. So you don't need to know any theme. It's just sometimes a little bit easier. But no, because the person that led him out in the WrestleMania SummerSlam 92 was Lennox Lewis, wasn't it? Yeah, that doesn't work with my theme.
Okay, I've just seen there might be something. There might be something deeper into your theme. I've just seen particularly the answers to 2, 3, and 4 make me think there might be something deeper to it.
Okay, well, we'll see, won't we? If you don't think that I've got hidden depth, then that's right. Number 19. Who was in the corner of the British Bulldogs along with Captain Luis Albano for WrestleMania 2? It was
Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne says Paul. I once went to a 1980s fancy dress party dressed as Ozzy Osbourne when I was thin, and it was actually It was actually something that had a snakeskin jacket and the glasses and everything. I didn't have the hair. I've got long hair now. I can actually do the hair now. But
Nice.
at the time I was actually thin and it worked. I just walked around all night going, "Where's the fucking drink?" Right, I don't know why I was doing Johnny Vegas, but I did. Anyway, number 20. Who was the first ever Ring of Honor television champion? Who was the first ever Ring of Honor television champion? That is the final question for this evening. Didn't know that was coming, did you?
Jesus Christ.
What I did find out today, which I didn't know before, is I can ask you this. This is another subsidiary question that doesn't count towards the points. But Paul, do you know where Ring of Honor is headquartered these days?
Well, it's Spectrum Media own it. I don't know where they're headquartered. Philadelphia.
No, that's what I thought. You see, I always associate Ring of Honor with Philadelphia. It is actually it's the place that hosted 8 out of 11 Great American Bashes.
I nearly said that. I nearly said that actually. Anyway,
based in Baltimore. To answer Matt Rickson, no, you don't need to say the link. The link is just half the time it's just me finding a reason to put some questions together. Rather than just doing 5 random questions, it is 5 questions that have a little link. It's more what's going on in my mind.
Yeah.
And if you can work out what's going on, then it just helps you towards the answer. So it's usually just me just having a little bit of fun with of how we get there. Anyway, that's the last question. Just to read it again. Number 20. Who was the first ever Ring of Honor television champion? That's the kind of question where I wouldn't expect many people to know that unless you're very much a Ring of Honor diehard. I think that's a very hard question to get.
Well,
however, if you've worked out the theme, then you probably can work out the answer. I think that's the idea. You don't have to get the theme, but it would usually help you identify an answer.
I think I've got halfway to the theme. I think you've been a bit tricksy with the theme than we think at first. But the only answer that springs to mind is Austin Aries.
Okay, that suggests to me 2 things. One is that Paul is going for the right sort of era of Ring of Honor, and 2, that he hasn't quite worked the theme out.
Yeah,
but he's on his way to it. Okay, we'll go through the answers in a minute. We just need to take a little bit longer than usual because Chris has got a lot.
No, we don't. We can go through the answers now, and then we can come back from the bonus points, and then we verify the answers. So no, we can go.
Oh, I see. Take your point. Okay, take your point. Will Kitchen, we'll come back to your question about the Civil War. We'll talk about that before the end. Don't forget, everyone, stick with us tonight until 10. This broadcast is going to end at 10 because when the quiz finishes, we'll have another 5 minutes or so wrapping up the quiz, and then we'll give us half an hour or so to have a little chat about tonight's Backlash pay-per-view, and then we'll finish up at 10. So we'll talk about the Civil War and a few other Hooked on Wrestling bits in the wrap-up, as it were. Yes. Right, let's do the answers. So who was the first ever Intercontinental Champion from I don't know, have they ever released the DVD of that tournament in Rio? I don't think they have.
They haven't. I think the footage got lost on the way back from Rio.
That'd be a good. Wouldn't that be a good? There's your Hooked on Wrestling exclusive. That's on April the 1st next year. Is going to be the first ever showing of that.
That's a good one.
That's our April Fool next year. I've given it away. Who was the first ever IC champ, Paul?
It was Pat Patterson.
It's Wrestling MediaCon's Pat Patterson. Number 2, who won the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 23?
Ken Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy.
Okay. Yeah, correct. I mean, if you put Mr. Kennedy, correct. If you put Ken Kennedy, correct. But you may have noticed Pat Patterson, Ken Kennedy. Louis Spicolli in his WWF in 1995-96 was called
Radford.
Okay. So Patterson, Ken Kennedy, Radford. Number 19, who was in the corner of the Bulldogs at WrestleMania 2?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay, so we've got a Pat, and a Ken, and a Rad, and an Oz. Okay. Now, would you like to have a guess at who was the first ever Ring of Honor television champion?
Well, it's not Austin Aries.
It's not Austin Aries. Do you want me to tell an Austin Aries story while you're thinking?
Go on. Well, I have a little think.
It's quite a quick one. This is a question I've often wondered, folks. There's plenty of wrestlers that I've met, and they'll say to me, "Hello, my name is so and so," and they'll give you their gimmick name. And there's plenty of wrestlers that I've met, and they'll say, "Hello, I'm so and so," and they'll give you their real name. For others, it's a slightly weirder hinterland. Consider the fact that a man who at the time was known as Desmond Wolfe.
Thank you, William.
Okay. The man who at the time was known as Desmond Wolfe and his real name is Stephen Howarth said, "Hello, my name is Nigel." That's a weird one. But I remember I had to ring Austin Aries for an interview once, and I rang him and I went, "Hi, is this Austin Aries?" And he went, "Yeah, this is Austin Aries," as if it was the stupidest thing I'd ever said. And to this day, I don't know his real name. I've looked it up and I've forgotten it. But he made basically a point of laughing at me. I mean, I get that he's a heel, right? But if he was in character as a heel, why would he just laugh at me saying his name? Anyway, he's a dick.
Well, that's probably why he can't keep a job, isn't it? But yeah, I think William's quite right. It's Eddie Edwards.
It is Eddie, as you rightly point out. Ed, as you completely say, Edwards.
So that I missed out on 10 out of 10 on the last question.
You did, by not picking up on the subtle theme of... so it was Pat, Ken, Rad, Oz, Ed, was my little... my little theme as it went along there. So there we go.
Son. So, Chris, are you ready for bonuses, mate? Let's have it. Yep. Hello, sir.
Hello. Right, I can give you one very, very quick Austin Aries thing from my point of view. Went to Orlando a couple of years.
No, what stories? You're not here for stories.
Yeah, we are. He is. Shut your mouth. In fact, wait there, Hatch. Wait there. Carry on.
Right, cool. Just what we needed. I took a quick ride in his car and I noticed his number plate, and it was TGMTEL, the greatest man that ever lived.
Well, I'm not sure whether to love that or hate that, but let's go with hate.
From it, but yeah.
Right, you're back off the naughty step now, Rob.
No, I don't like him either, but he keeps doing it to me. Oh, sorry.
Right, sorry, Chris. Can we have the bonus points now, please, mate?
Yes. Patrick Heafield 5, Chris Marden 3, RJ Lynch 3, Malcolm Marr 2, Adam Frand 1, Martin Richards 1, Dan Greenwood 1, Paul Robson 1, Matt Rickson 1.
Well done.
Quickly again.
One more time, yep.
Yep, Patrick Heafield 5, Chris Marden 3, RJ Lynch 3, Malcolm Marr 2, Adam Frand 1, Martin Richards 1, Dan Greenwood 1, Paul Robson 1, and Matt Rickson 1.
So just to confirm, that's Patrick Heafield of Team got 5 points.
Yes.
Just checking. Thanks, Chris. We'll bring you back to a recap, mate. We'll bring you back in one. Oh no, let's keep on. We're at the end of the quiz. So, guys, I see you all putting your points down. So keep them coming. We've got, I think, the highest one I've seen so far is Chris Marden, the other member of Team. He's doing all right. He is. He's doing all right. Team.
He's one of mine.
Is he?
Chris Marden's one of mine.
I thought he was one of... Oh, I'm getting confused.
Yeah, I think he's.
I'm getting confused.
I thought he was Team Heavens. Yes.
Matt Barber got 3. Malcolm got 12-9 for Chris. Not a bad one. RJ Lynch got 16. Another cracker for Leanne on 21. 1 out of 20. Benjamin, we still love you, but maybe respect you a little bit less. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? Adam, sorry, Adam. Sorry. Patrick only got... Oh, he swerved me. I thought he only got 17 out of 20, but then he added his 10 bonus points and he gets 27. Well done, Patrick. I think that's going to be a winning score. So, Adam, what did you get, mate? Let me scroll back up to see what the other member of Team got.
While Paul is doing that, I'll be the sincere one for tonight. So I'll say, listen, in all seriousness, everyone, thank you for joining in with this. We really enjoy doing this on a Sunday night. It is just for a giggle. I said this last week and I'll say it again. We would rather that you said, I didn't do very well in the quiz. In fact, it was a bit of a shit quiz, but it was quite entertaining. Than we would you go, oh, it was a great quiz, but it was a bit boring. We're here to try and entertain and have a little bit of a laugh with the quiz. We could knock this out in 20 minutes and go home, and that'd be fine if we were just doing the quiz. But we try and draw it out. We try and have a bit of fun, a little bit of banter, tell some stories, and we hopefully you appreciate it. And that's kind of the idea. It's what we've been going for the whole raison d'etre with hookedonwrestling.co.uk since it started. And we hope you're enjoying it and appreciating it. And because we're we're enjoying bringing it to you, and that's podcasts and quizzes and articles and all sorts. So, but we couldn't do it without. Yeah, it's good to have the support, and I think the change to Sunday. Does everyone agree that the change to Sunday is working as well? I think that seems to have been a hit.
Certainly working on attendance, isn't it, Chris? That's for sure.
Yep. I've double checked that score, and I can't see anyone topping 27 at this rate.
Woo!
Well done, Patrick.
Team represents. Well done, guys. Right, so that's probably a good time to come into our Civil War discussions. I'm blindsiding Rob and Chris with this a little bit, so I'll be completely honest. I've had an insanely busy week. I've put out a few feelers and completely failed to follow them all up. It's completely on me. I've had an insane week at work. I've had an insane week with the website. It's just been nuts. So I haven't really had a chance to follow up the celebrity side of things, but we're close. We're close. I just don't want to.
Well,
I don't want to jump in too early. Well, you've got yours sorted, have you?
Well, I was possibly. I was thinking about announcing mine tonight.
Can you hold on? Because I've got one.
My celebrity is pretty much booked. I just need to do a little bit of paperwork, some of the publicity shots. Just need to do all that sort of thing.
Got to get the press release sorted, have you?
All that's not quite there. I was going to give a bit of a tease, but if you're not ready, if your team is that slow coming together, because I asked my person and they said yes, basically immediately, because of why wouldn't they? So if you're having a bit of a problem actually getting someone to join your team, I'll wait, but I'm basically ready. I'm more than happy with mine.
It's not a problem. It's just about waiting for the best. But I can tell you who the guy from the Hooked On hosting team is. So we're going to have one slot for guys who act as hosts of our parties. Okay, and I've made my pick for team. Right, and that guy is. You could almost count as a celebrity as well. Actually, he is the host of the Hooked On Wrestling Glasgow parties. He's the insane championship wrestling ring announcer. He's wrestling's greatest George Michael lookalike. James R. Kennedy joins Team. And he's promised me he will bring his spangly jackets and his fuzzy beard and everything else for the night. So we have got the next member of Team. It is James R. Kennedy.
Okay, fine.
I see the fear etched on your face.
Just not a problem at all. I like him. He's a good lad. Can't moan about that. That's a good pick. I see you're reaching out for the other parts of the United Kingdom. That's a smart thing to do. So yeah, no, okay. I'm not going to sell that one. I'm going to say that's a good pick. Well done, Chris.
What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's a great pick. He's going to have the knowledge there. So absolutely superb pick.
Excellent. Well, like I say, I did blindside Rob with that one slightly. Unfortunately, I should have told him off air first, but Celevi came in quite late, and I've been slack as F this week. So sorry about that, guys. Shall we? Should we do the podcast now?
I will promise you. Here's a nickel promise that you will have my pick, at least one of my picks, hopefully two of my picks on next week's show.
Definitely.
On Undertaker week. Next week is Undertaker week. It's the Undertaker. We'll do an Undertaker themed quiz next week, as well as all sorts of Undertaker themed stuff on the website. I will give you my at least one, hopefully two more picks next Sunday on the pod. On the quiz.
So who is going to stick around for the Backlash preview? We're just going to go and we're going to announce the subject of this week's How to Be Great podcast, and then we will get straight into Backlash. So Rob, tell us what the theme is next week.
Well, it kind of feels fitting, doesn't it, on a night where we're about to get the greatest wrestling match ever, aside, possibly not the greatest match of the week, although I haven't seen SmackDown. I heard it was very good. The How to Be Great podcast. If you've not heard the How to Be Great podcast, and lots of you have, considering the statements earlier on, so thank you for that. What we look to do on the How to Be Great podcast, which is hosted by Paul and myself, is we take a very small section of wrestling and we decide what is the best example of it. So what have we done so far, Paul? We've done who's got the best drop kick. We decided that came out as Mr. Perfect. We've done who is the best ladder match performer. That came out as Jeff Hardy. We've had who has the best opening 2 seconds of wrestling theme music. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and on and so forth. We're not doing what's the best match, what's the best this. We're going right into proper details. So as you may have heard, what we did last week was who made the biggest impact on Impact. So listen to the podcast to find out Paul and I's 5 picks of who made the biggest impact on Impact. What we're essentially saying, who are the 5 most important figures in changing the face of TNA wrestling. That's this week's podcast. It's a long podcast, but it's worth it. And at the end of it, or during it, you will find out our list of 5. And then on that podcast, it will tell you where to go and vote on the Hooked On Wrestling website to air your opinion. Next week, because it's Undertaker week, and we'll be recording this probably on Tuesday night. So Paul has already put one post up on the Facebook page, and probably be doing another one tomorrow where you can give us your opinion, and you can do it via Twitter as well. Our question to you is, what is the greatest Undertaker match that took place anywhere other than WrestleMania? So we're obviously very, very familiar with the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, but our question, our topic, which we'll be discussing on this week's podcast, we take all of the discussion points, we distill it down to 5. That's your shortlist, and then you'll pick on the poll from there. But our topic this week: what is the greatest Undertaker match outside of WrestleMania? Can't wait to chat about that. It's Undertaker week. The last ride, the penultimate ride, it should be called, dropped today on the WWE Network. The last episode will be next week. And so in celebration of that, we're turning everything black and purple, including the podcast. So we can't wait to have a chat about that. Make sure you get your... Already there's some people making suggestions in the room. There's a couple of different ones. All sorts of things. Stick them in the comment section of the Facebook page. Tweet us the answers. Or tweet us your thoughts. We'll discuss them on the pod. And that should be released around about Wednesday.
Yep, indeed. Right. So let's go. Should we do some backlashing? Let's do some backlashing. So
we do. You set it up, and I'll put my light on. I'm getting a bit dark here.
Yeah, you're looking quite dark. So Chris, you staying up for the show tonight?
Hopefully, yeah. Probably the fact that it's a midnight start makes it a bit easier. The fact there's going to be no crowd noise. Well, there is a little bit of crowd noise, but I found it very odd last week with the screens. But it'll be all right. So
it'll be fun. What? Oh God, there's the take. So what is it? What are you looking forward to? Anything outside the main event, or is it all about Edge Orton for you?
I think it's all built around that. I'm more interested in the results of the matches to see what happens on next week's TV than I am about the actual matches, if that makes sense.
Does indeed. Yep. How about you, Rob?
Now, I just wonder. I mean, there are times where you look at the McMahon family, Vince in particular, and wonder what their motivations are, whether it's to make money or to have their fun. I'm not going to say it goes as far as trolling the WWE universe, but occasionally you do wonder, how great would it be? This is what I'm going to be watching for. I want the greatest wrestling match of all time to be billed that way, to have people talk about it all night, to have the two of them get in the ring, have Edge throw a clothesline, Orton duck under, hit him with an RKO, pin him, 1, 2, 3, 13-second match. That would be if that happens, that would be the greatest thing I have ever seen.
It would be phenomenal. And I love the marketing of that match. I think marking anything as the greatest ever of something before it starts, it's obviously nonsense, right? So anybody taking it seriously probably needs their bumps felt, to be honest, and probably need to sort of take a step back, because it's clearly just designed to get us talking. And it has. We've been talking about this match and this event all month since it was announced. And is it going to be the greatest ever? No. But how many people who are desperately shouting about how wrong WWE are and how stupid they are for doing it, how many of those are going to watch tonight solely to say, oh, I told you it wasn't. I told you it wasn't the greatest match ever. I told you it wasn't even the greatest match this week. It wasn't as good as Kenny Omega against Okada against Orange Cassidy. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get into that nonsense, but you know the type of fan I'm talking about, who will watch that just to say how right they are. Of course you're right. Of course it's not going to be the greatest match ever, but they've got you. They've got you viewing, and they've got you talking, and they've got you right by the short and curlies where they want you. It's marketing. It's troll marketing, and it's a bloody brilliant example of it. So, for better or worse, they've it's mission accomplished. You type in greatest match ever into Google right now, they're all over it. So, yeah, evil genius is at work.
I mean, there are people, including myself, that don't. I am totally honest with you all. I don't follow WWE like I used to. I don't have BT Sport, and I refuse to illegally download things. So therefore, all I watch now are pay-per-views and the odd NXT on a Wednesday. I don't watch Raw and SmackDown because I have no access to Raw and SmackDown. I obviously could watch it 4 weeks hence on the network, but by that point it's gone, isn't it? So I am not au fait with a lot of the booking and everything that's going on and whatever, but I do know what's happening. They've got me by their marketing campaign. They've got me, and I'm going to be interested to see what they do. Like I say, I think it'd be hilarious if they actually just did a 15-second match and got the hell out of there. But the point is that if I'm going to be critical, I'm looking at the rest of the lineup to the side of me here, and I don't see too many things that make me go, well, Edge and Orton's got me in, but this is what's going to keep me. I'm not that sure why the match from SmackDown. I won't give it away, folks, if people haven't seen SmackDown yet. But I'm not quite sure why that Intercontinental title match from Friday is not on this. Mm-hmm. I guess perhaps they're more happy these days to try and keep the SmackDown ratings up than they are to try and get pay-per-view buys or network subscriptions. Because I don't look at this card in front. I've got the card to me here, and I don't go, oh, I really want to see that. There's not another match on that thing that makes me say, that makes me want to watch the show as well as Edge and Orton. So to me, it's a bit of a one-match show. Although you could argue maybe now isn't the time to give away too many things because actually we've got this pay-per-view, maybe one more with no fans, and then if they've got fans back for SummerSlam, it's a huge deal. So they might just be holding a few things back.
I think there's a lot to be said about that. And I suppose, and Graham Daly's got a good, interesting, fun question, actually, rather than concentrating on this straight away. What is the greatest WWE match? What is the greatest match of all time in WWE? Chris, what's your favourite? It's all subjective, obviously.
That's two questions. Greatest and favourite, I would say.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, because greatest is subjective. So what I think is the greatest is automatically my favourite. So it's not. It's the same question.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. Like, I love the Brett Shaw and Iron Man is probably up there for me as a great match. I don't know why. It just is. It's just where I like it. But again, that's just an opinion.
Man, you are in the middle of an anti-Brett Shaw and Iron Man sandwich right here on that screen. But that's why it's subjective. Rob, how about you, mate?
Well, I think they're two different questions because I would say that there are favourites based on how old you were at the time, what it made you feel, maybe you saw it live. Those things can influence your favourite things, but objectively, you would look at another match and go, "Do you know what?" Because my favourite football match of all time is probably Plymouth Argyle 6, Newport 1. But but it's not the greatest football match of all time, is it? It's probably only in the top 4 or 5. I would say that my favourite match of all time is probably Bret Austin from WrestleMania 13. I think for what it achieved, I think it is probably the single match that made Austin become what he became, and he became the biggest thing in the history of wrestling. So that to me is my favourite, and I love what that achieved. But I do think that the Undertaker versus Shawn from WrestleMania 25 is a better match. It's a better wrestling match. It actually achieved nothing. It was just two great wrestlers having a great wrestling match. Nothing came of that. There was no stipulation. There was no title win. There was no retirement. It achieved nothing. But it's the greatest match I've ever seen. I will happen to be there, but I think it's the greatest match I've ever seen. So to me, they're different questions. But
that is totally understandable. And there's a few comments in for that agree with you actually. That think I disagree. I think what you're saying about football or a lot of other things is correct. But I think specifically in wrestling, I would say greatest and favorite tally. But that's just my opinion. To me, it's I think my favorite match of all time is probably Bulldog against Brett at SummerSlam. And again, I was there, it's got a bias to it, but I just think the occasion and the immense emotion as part of the match, and the fact that it was a technical classic as well, just takes it over the edge for me. But you can ask me on 10 different days and get 10 different answers.
Well, that's true.
So
and that's probably where you made a good decision not to necessarily do your 1 to 10 in terms of your favourites on that article, because you'll change your mind. I always think that I think the likelihood of me being asked on Desert Island Discs anytime in the future is quite slim. But should it ever happen, I would give you a different 8 records in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, let alone any day of the week. So you would change what your favourite records are. It's totally dependent on mood and whatever. But like I say, I think favourite and greatest to me, they're two different things. But they're not a million miles apart, let's face it.
No.
But we're not really here talking about that. We should be talking about
No, we're talking about Backlash. So on that note...
Does it say a lot that we've actually deviated within the deviation? Because Backlash is quite hard to talk about. Yeah,
it is. There's not a lot going on. So for that reason, I'm not going to go through on a match by match basis, because I think it's fairly dull. But what I will ask is, Chris, do you see any title changes taking place?
Good question. Good question.
Looking through the card there, and the only titles I could see changing is potentially the women's tag. There's nothing else I can see changing. I don't see why they'd finally get Apollo Crews to where he is and then drop the belt from him. There's just no logic behind it. No. Drew needs to hold the belt until anything realistic happens. So, yeah, I can't see anything. Maybe the women's tag, but that's about it.
Rob?
Certainly what I would consider the two major matches on the show in terms of titles. I look at this card and I see Drew and I see Asuka. And I see two new champions, Drew, who won at WrestleMania, Asuka, that got handed the title, essentially. I know it's not quite handed, but you know what I mean, from the thing with Becky Lynch. So I look at that and say, you've got to try and build your two champions where you can. And Bobby Lashley and Nia Jax both absolutely fit the bill of credible title opponents. But realistically, you're saying, is Nia Jax the best female that we have to hold the title? Is Bobby Lashley the best male we have to hold the title? And neither of them are anywhere near that. Not anywhere near it. But if you don't want championships to change every single month like they did in sort of 98, 99, then you do have this thing of bedding them in. You assume that Drew McIntyre's next big opponent is going to be at SummerSlam. There's no point in him losing at Backlash. You don't do everything they did with the Rumble and Mania for him to lose at Backlash. And you don't do everything I have seen the scene with Becky and Asuka and the emotion of it and how people love Asuka. They absolutely love her to bits. You don't do all that unless you're trying to get her moved on. So I also don't see Braun losing I don't see him losing a handicap match for the Universal title. I agree with what Chris said. I think if you're looking at anything, the fact that I always look at triple threats, and I think I got it right last week. I got it sort of right last week, the NXT thing, didn't I? I said that there's a triple threat so that they can use someone else to move the title over. I got the wrong person. I didn't think it was going to be Io Shirai, to win the title. I thought she might be in there to be the one that got pinned, but I did kind of cotton on to the fact that they were going to use the triple threat to turn it around. So I think that's a possibility. I think it's any of those teams are good contenders, because I like the Iconics as a silly heel act. I think they're a good vulnerable champ that you want them to get beaten, and for them to win in a triple threat because the other two have beaten each other senseless and they capitalize is a good way of getting the titles back on them. So yeah, I would say Iconics to win the triple threat is something I would look at. Everything else, I don't see a lot of changing, and I honestly don't know enough about the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders to offer an opinion on that.
Well, that's only as Martin Richards put it in the chat there that he was asking about it. I didn't even know that match was happening. I assumed it was, but it wasn't officially announced. And yeah, that's happening. But that might be a title change. But the one I see, in actual fact, I could totally see Nia Jax taking the belt. Obviously, Asuka was never the plan for that title, for one. She was never the plan for the title. She only got it because Becky was leaving. Otherwise, Becky would have kept it. You say everybody loves Asuka, and as fans, we do. Do the company love Asuka? Not as much, I don't think, unfortunately. I think we could see Nia Jax taking the title, and then Charlotte slaying the beast, as it were.
Really?
I only mean that in terms of she's a bigger woman than her. It's Hogan Andre. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But it's a bigger opponent for her to, she doesn't have many bigger opponents. It's not often that Charlotte is at a size disadvantage. And obviously they want to push her as a big news now. So I could totally see Nia Jax taking a belt. That's my pick on that one. But the rest, not so much. But do look out, and guys, I want to get your opinions on this. But in terms of the sleeper match of the night, Drew against Lashley. Did anyone remember that match from TNA or Impact?
I was just going to say that's a TNA match from about 4 years ago, isn't it?
It was a corker of a TNA match. It was just about the time the name was changing over, so I don't remember if it was TNA or Impact, but it was a belter of a match. Now, I totally think this could go the same way. I think, given the opportunity and given Lashley's motivation, this could be decent. I don't see Lashley winning, nor should he, but I think we're going to be in for a really good match. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I completely agree. Lashley, everyone knows he's good, but I think he's always got something more in the tank than you see a lot of the time. And Drew, yeah, just incredible. Yeah, and that TNA match, completely agree. I can't really say anything else. Completely agree with you.
Guys, on the chat as well, by the way, outside of the greatest wrestling match ever, what do you think is going to be the best match of the night? Which match do you think is going to be, Meltzer's top pick? What's going to get the snowflakes? I think it's going to be Lashley Drew. Chris sounds like he thinks the same. Rob?
Good use of the word snowflake outside of the normal use of it these days on social media. But no, I actually think, with all of my joking around with Edge and Orton, I do think it'll be good. I do think that it clearly won't live up, because it won't be the greatest thing of all time. So in a certain way, it won't live up to expectation. But I still expect it to be the best match of the night. I still think they'll have a lot of fun with it, and I almost think that the pair of them would have preferred to have had a proper match. I thought that they should have had just a straightforward match at WrestleMania. I know why they did what they did, but they went all around the building, and quite frankly, it was boring.
Yep.
And I'm a big Orton fan. I know a lot of people aren't, but I've loved Randy Orton for years, and I still like watching him work. I think he's exceptional in the ring. I've told you before, he's the Gareth Barry of professional wrestling. And Edge is also, tremendous. And the fact that he's got himself back in shape and is back around again, brilliant. I think the two of them deserve to have a wrestling match. And I said the same thing about Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream last week. I know they have had other matches, but I would rather watch them have a wrestling match than have some sort of gimmicky piece of nonsense. And so I think both Randy and Adam will be absolutely stoked just to get in there and have a match and tear the house down. I know they won't be able to do it without the crowd and whatever, but I still think that that's what they'll go for. So I think that Edge and Orton will probably be the best match of the night. To make a point on your TNA thing, the last time I went to see a TNA show was in Birmingham 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it was, maybe a bit less. And I went because it was probably going to be the last time that Kurt Angle wrestled in the UK, and that was the last match of the tour. And I made a point of I wanted to see Kurt's last match, and our whole show was built around Kurt, EC3, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. And within about 6 months, all 4 of them had signed for WWE, or maybe not 6 months, but very, very soon. TNA had a little purple patch, and those 4 were the key to it. And it's when Drew suddenly took everyone's notice. Part of it was going back to ICW and doing the whole British thing, and being loved and revered in Scotland. But when he went to TNA and he had something to prove and he kept on going, that was the point where he kind of found his mojo, and WWE must have seen that. Vince personally might not have, but someone talent spotting must have gone, he's got it. It's finally clicked. And that's when they went. So if Lashley's the right kind of opponent, because I don't think Lashley has ever got anywhere near what he could have been in WWE. I've never found him interesting to watch. Lovely man, met him a couple of times, lovely fella, but I've never found Lashley interesting to watch ever. So maybe MVP can bring something out of him, because MVP is a great addition to his act. Helps him as a talker, can make him a bit more disliked. I think that's the sort of secondary match for me. They're the 2 that I'm looking forward to seeing, certainly. The rest of the card is a little bit to me.
Yep. So quick one for Chris, and then obviously for the guys in the comments as well, and then I'll go to Rob afterwards. Chris, assuming that Lashley is simply the challenger of the month, who do you want to step up to face McIntyre next? Not who do you think it'll be, who do you want to see it?
That is a really tough one. There's lots there that it could be. I don't think it'll be straight away, but I'd like to see Orton use being top of the bill in the greatest match ever to then move on to it potentially. I think that could be a good shout, and I think they play off each other really well.
Okay, and we've got the comment we've had so far from Martin. It says Andrade, which I had in my mind as well to a degree. Rob, what do you think? Where do you want to see it go from here? Who's Drew's next challenger?
I don't know. It depends on a lot of this. Depends on who's available, doesn't it? I mean, what I don't know is someone's just stolen my thunder in a certain way. I don't know who's available, who's fit, who's healthy, who can come to shows. Things might make a difference once there's fans around. But I think it is absolutely crying out for someone to come out of nowhere. Not someone that's just been doing okay and is in the mid card. I couldn't tell you exactly what he's been doing, but Will Kitchen has slightly stolen my thunder. I would love to see Samoa Joe come out of nowhere and beat the hell out of Drew. And Samoa Joe is a different kind of credible opponent to Drew, to Lashley. Lashley's been around for a long time. We know who he is. He's a big guy. Drew can slay him. Joe brings the wrestling. Joe does bring something different. But again, he can talk you in. If you ever go back to when Joe first appeared 3 or 4 years ago, some of his early promos about being a bit of a killer and whatever, that man can talk. His most underrated skill is his talking. Because he's a great wrestler, but he's a good talker and he's a great character. I would love to see Joe come in and absolutely clean house and do a Drew Joe thing. I think they'd have a lot of fun with it. But like I say, I don't really know Joe's position in the company. There's others you've got. I mean, obviously you could go to Owens. What's Owens' position? I don't think they go back to Rollins so quick. I also don't know. You can answer me this. It's a genuine question. What's the Fiend up to? They're going to do Drew Fiend at some point.
Well, I don't think. Well, they're on separate brands, so who knows? It's not stopped them in the past. My thought, and I'm in two minds about this. Seth Rollins, right? You said no to Seth, but he has so come back since he went heel. He is hands down my favorite character, my favorite wrestler, but my favorite character in WWE at the moment. He is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's finally, after all these years, what's he been in the company for now? 7.5 years. He has finally put it all together. He has found the perfect character for him. He is a manipulative, twisted, evil heel. And he pulls it off so well. To the point where I don't want him to get that shot yet. I want him to be the guy that takes the title off Drew. And it's not time for that yet. Oh, no, we're close. But he is my first. He is just so good. And if he steps up again, they had the handshake, didn't they, at the end of their last encounter at Money in the Bank. And if he was to come back tomorrow and step in, I would have no complaints. But that was what I was going to say. They've sort of done it though, haven't they? They've sort of gone there already. I feel like they need to do 2 or 3 others with Drew first, and then Rollins is more of a listen. Is Drew if it's who they wrestle, is Samoa Joe going to beat Drew? No. Is Lashley going to beat him? No. Realistically, would Owens beat him? No. It's going to be someone big that they're going to have to take him off the title with, and they might do it with Rollins. Rollins is the kind of person they might do it with. So, I feel like they might hold back. And yeah, as someone else I think mentioned in the chat, did someone else say it? There's the Brock question, isn't there? What's Brock up to? When do they pull the trigger on bringing Brock back again? Yeah, true. It's a distinct possibility. But guys, I think we should leave it there. I think if we're 1 minute to the hour, and I think we've kicked the arse out of Backlash as much as we can, in that we've asked like 3 questions and we've gone there. I think we're all in agreement that there's a sprinkling of decent on there, but it's certainly not enough to kick the arse out of for any longer. So we'll be staying up for it. Guys, if you wanted to, join us on Twitter at HO_wrestling. We'll be lurking around for most of the night. So we'd love to see you guys there. Thanks again for joining us, Chris, Rob. Thank you very much for your time, as always, and your efforts. We'll be back next Sunday, but obviously you can see us all throughout the week on the website, through our podcasts and everything else we do. So thank you, as always, for your support. We really enjoy bringing these to you on a Sunday night, and we'll continue to do so. So enjoy Backlash, and speak to you all soon. Ta-ta. Bye-bye, Mark.